Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. Let's meet your hosts, Chris Angel and Michael Maher.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Referrals Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Michael Maher. Michael, today
What's up, brother? Good to be
What's
back.
up, brother?
Always good. Oh my
We're
gosh.
talking about morning rituals today, which is very exciting.
Love it.
Because I think in the world that we live in, listen, I'm going to throw myself under the bus for just a minute. It wasn't that long ago I would roll over in the morning from my bed, pick up my smartphone and look at Facebook or Google Gmail, right? I'm throwing myself under the bus, but I think I've corrected that behavior. But it's very important to talk about rituals. So I'm excited to hear from you and our guest today. So take it away.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's amazing how many people will start with a chaotic morning, right? They will have a morning where it's if the first thing they have to do is drop the kids off at school at 8:30. They get up at 8. They've got breakfast on the road. It's a Lego or a Eggo, or it's or a Lego, right? Which you step on. Yeah, but it's one of those where it's just like everything's a little chaotic. And guess what? It seems like the entire day will build off of itself that way. If we start out with chaos, it tends to get more chaotic. But if we start out with a structure and very like calm and structured, it just seems like the rest of the day we feel ahead almost the rest of the day. And I can literally speak to this from recent knowledge is that I just recently did San Diego and then Orlando, right? Opposite coast. So it was Atlanta, San Diego, Orlando. And I didn't know if it was morning, night, day, what day of the week it was. I was so out of sorts. And I have to tell you, I really, I did not stick with my morning ritual because it was just like, do I got to get up now or 3:30 in the morning in California? I'm like, 3:30 in the morning, what do you do, right? And then I came back to Orlando, and it's like, oh crap, I've got to get somewhere. So I was very out of sorts, and I really had to before I spoke 9 times in Orlando last week, or this week. You know what I'm doing? It's like right there.
You're
right?
Still lost. You're still lost.
So yeah, I'm still off.
In need of a morning ritual.
So I had to stop before every one of my presentations, and get my bearings. And I had to really do my pre-game or pre-speak affirmation. I stand strong and tall. I speak with passion and conviction. What I have to say has enormous value to my listener. I give generously. I receive appreciatively. Let's go, right? So to just get my bearings and just to get normal. And then luckily this morning I'm at home, and it's just amazing. I fell into my morning ritual, and oh my God, the sense of calm, like my heart is beating slower and more normal today because I did my morning ritual, And before I belabor that too much, I want to introduce our guest here today, very special guest to me. We have Tony and Jenn Scarpero out of Atlanta, Georgia. And welcome to the show, Tony and Jenn.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Michael.
Yeah,
thanks for
Referrals Podcast, baby. Referrals.
Let's do it.
So we're going to talk about how the morning ritual can lead to referrals, and honestly, how it fits into the whole acronym of FLY, right? First, love yourself. We've already talked about the generosity generation and the 3 principles of we help businesses build their businesses based on love, generosity, and appreciation. And we've talked about, give massive value first, give first. We've talked about give thanks. We've talked about give back, which fit perfectly with love, generosity, and appreciation. Love is give back. Generosity is give first. Appreciation is give thanks, right? So this really fits under love, right? Under the whole love. And so underneath love, we have to have FLY, right? Which is first love yourself. We need to first love ourselves so that we can love others. And if we don't first love ourselves, it's really hard to love others. You can do it, but it's harder. And I will tell you what, if you are that person who maybe struggles with loving yourself, but you are pretty good at loving others, I will tell you that once you implement FLY, first love yourself, that part will soar through the roof. the energy that you will feel in giving to others will go through the roof, and it will be far more productive, far more energetic. So first, love yourself. And that's what we're talking about today with the morning ritual. So I think the first thing to do is tell us your morning ritual story, right? So tell us kind of the before, and tell us what the catalytic moment was, and a little bit of the after. And
Wow, loaded question. It's been a long journey, Michael. First of all, thank you for having us, and we love that this has come into our life, and nothing's an accident, right?
That's right.
So we were a little discombobulated, you could say, before we found you, before we found the book, and our alarm sounded sort of like, Tony, you want to tell them what it sounded like?
Yeah, I mean, our alarm, literally, we had no alarm other than a 6-month-old baby.
Yeah, we want to hear it. We want to hear you.
And that was what we woke up to. Literally.
The crying baby alarm.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Get the bottle. Get the bottle. Get the baby.
Get a diaper.
And it was not good, and it did not stop there. It spread throughout the day. It affected our relationship. It affected my friendships, our friendships. Never felt like we had time for anybody else, ourselves, eating quickly, just survival versus we didn't even know how to live into abundance. So when we found this principle, this system, we had bought the book at one of your seminars.
Well, no, we ordered it in the pre-sales. And we're like, oh, we're going to get this book. And
I was pregnant.
Yeah, and we were like, the baby's on the way. This is going to make us, become morning people with this baby. And then we were blessed with a baby that loves to sleep.
Well, I had high hopes that, hey, this is not going to be another book that I don't have time to read.
There you go.
I still didn't make time for myself.
And you're talking about the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we have right here.
Yeah. Bang.
This right here.
Nice. Good. That's you guys on the front. You know that, right?
Yeah, we're like, woo,
the silhouette,
on
holding
the top
hands
of the mountain.
in the morning.
And it was just a little crazy. So once we started the class and bought the book, you guys, I think, put something on Facebook that you were going to have a trial class. And I thought, this is a way for us to force ourselves to finally read this book instead of it sitting on the bookshelf and mocking us.
And how many people can relate with that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to the buying the book and putting it on the shelf and not reading it, right? And lucky enough, Facebook, we were going to do 30 mornings, right? We did 30 mornings. And as a good, like, okay, you want to get a good morning ritual, here's a way we can do it. So and we're doing it kind of half as a book club and half as like get your ultimate morning ritual together, right?
Yeah. And we took several of those classes in a row, and all of a sudden life felt fun. It really did. I mean, it sounds like too good to be true, but it was, if you just take those couple minutes in the morning to give something back, to put something into your tank, all of a sudden you had more fuel. I mean, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's just, we live in this age, especially in, I think, the United States, where if you come at all in your daily life, if you get to be at all in your daily life as a priority, you're at the bottom of the list. So
what was the first piece that you put into place in the morning ritual, right? So from the first time you took 30 mornings, we warned people, like, okay, don't try to take all of Savers and implement it the first day, right? So it's like, what was the first piece, and maybe it was different for the two of you, but what was the first piece that you put into play? And we'll define Savers together here in a second, just so everybody's kind of we're going to talk about that a lot.
I think the first thing was not hitting the snooze for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even have an alarm because of the baby. She honestly woke us up every morning, and it was chaos. But when we did have an alarm, it was, not ready, not yet, because you were instantly getting up to being late already. It wasn't a fun thing to wake up for. That's right. So that's the first thing we switched, I think, right, Tony, was we're getting up to do some stuff that feels good, that's going to be energizing.
Yeah, having that defined time that we were getting up at that point instead of it just being whenever.
Okay, that's a huge step.
Yeah.
Is the defined time, right? So one of the first things we talk about in 30 mornings is define your time. And when people are taking 30 mornings, the defined time is already set, right? Because you got to get up for the class. But defining your time, what is your wake up time? And so many people think that this morning ritual thing is about waking up earlier. It's really not. It's about waking up better, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to do all of this, right? If your day really starts at 8 o'clock, you can get up at 6 and have a really good morning ritual and a really good get the kids up and off to school and still get to work at 8 and have a great day, right? It's not about getting up at 4 a.m. Nobody's joining the 4 a.m. club here, right?
No.
So, yeah.
And we that's not us.
We very rarely get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah. So we've had some students, now that we're teachers of the class, we've had some students that they say, hey, my kid, she's in college, she waits tables, she gets up usually at 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 11, and she goes in for a 1 o'clock shift. She's doing the miracle morning starting at 9:30.
There you go. Which is before noon, which is better than most of that age group.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. She's ahead.
Yeah.
And the morning ritual is paying attention to your health more, drinking a glass of water when normally you'd forget to, remembering your vitamins. I mean, it's just the small little things, but it's the little things that add up to a lot, I really think.
Yeah. And having a ritual in the morning, right? What is a ritual? It's just a small system, right? It's having a little bit of structure. This isn't about over structuring and having every 5 minutes blocked out for your entire day, right? This is having a flow in your morning that you can count on. What we need in life more and more are things we can count on, right? We need habits, rituals, and just flow that we can count on, because in life, there's a lot of things we can't count on. We don't know what's going to happen, like falling downstairs or something like that. So it's one of those, enough of life is chaotic in what happens to us. So what if we could take control of what we have control over, right? Which is, all right, just take control of your morning. And if, with savers, one of the first things is silence or quiet time or prayer or meditation. It's like, if you do it and you do it for 5 minutes, great. If you do it and you do it for 30 minutes, great. Just have it be a part of your life. And maybe if we have time, I'll tell a story about, just bringing meditation into my life and what opportunities that has opened up down the road, just from a self-improvement standpoint, right? Yeah. So let's go through savers, right? So let's go through savers, the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents version with the extra A, right? Yep. And so explain it to us. Like what is silence, and then we'll converse around the S, and then we'll just go through the acronym one piece at a time and just talk about it and talk about your experiences from, you've gone from mayhem and the AM, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You're proud of yourself for that, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trademarking that puppy, right? So to masters of the mornings, right? To masters of the mornings. So it's like, then you took 30 mornings, and then you took 30 mornings again. Now you're teaching 30 mornings, right? You're certified mornings coaches, and you have your own following, right? Around the country, with people who have taken 30 mornings with you, and love you and love getting up with you each and every day. So I think people need to know that transition. So let's just explain it like we would a friend. What is savers? What is the savers acronym for the morning ritual?
Yeah, so the S in savers stand for silence, and really could involve anything from just sitting in silence, doing some breathing routines. Could be for some people meditation, could be prayer. So there's really not a right or wrong way to do silence. It's just finding what really fits for you individually and what works.
Except for no Facebook while you're doing practicing.
Yeah, no Facebook during silence.
Means sitting and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Except for maybe drinking coffee.
Amen to that. I heard coffee. Coffee is a mainstay with my son.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
So that's part of that ritual. So, but it is one of those where it's like, what would it be like if you didn't just roll over and check Facebook or roll over and check, Gmail? And how are some ways that you've had students like avoid that? That is the number one morning routine in the world, right? The number one morning routine is to roll over and check Facebook and check Gmail or check email. And honestly, it's one of the worst ways to get up. Especially if you're in real estate or lending and in that email, it's probably a problem, right? There's probably something that is going to raise your heart rate, clog your arteries, and cause a coronary, right? So it's like, avoid that for a while. How do you coach them through that?
I always tell people to, and this brings up a lot of deep stuff for people, like how much do you love yourself? And I ask that very honest question. I usually wait until week 2 or 3, to sort of get a little personal with them, but I go there for sure. And if you are not giving yourself that time, if you don't think you're worth it, if you think you just can't turn down that job, and I had this conversation, I own a construction company. I had this conversation with a painter yesterday. So I don't have time to do anything in the morning or do yoga. And I said, well, how do you feel right now? I feel terrible. I'm sick all the time. Well, yeah, you're not giving that self-love to yourself. So that honestly opens up a big can of worms a lot of times, but that stuff, if we don't deal with it, turns into sickness, disease, divorce, all sorts of things. So that is an important thing to turn our attention to.
And going old school with the alarm, right? Too many people, your phone is your alarm. Well, switching off the alarm on your phone, it makes it really easy to then press the Facebook button or press the Gmail button. Another thing that I heard you guys talk about is taking Facebook off their phone. I can just imagine people having conniptions, right?
I want to do a meditation just on that.
Yeah, taking Gmail and taking Facebook off their phones. And what a great idea. I mean, imagine how much more productive people would be. And honestly, how much better drivers they would be.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yikes, right.
Yeah. So I have to tell you, I was just talking to Carrie Qualters out of Atlanta, and she took Facebook off her phone, and she still checks it at night, right? And she's been amazed at like how much she hasn't missed. Right. It's just like I got the same stuff at 8 o'clock at night, that I had all day. And actually, it's kind of better because instead of checking Facebook and you've got 7 notifications or whatever, she checks at night. There's 30. She catches up on all 30 notifications in 5 to 10 minutes. She's good. She feels caught up in the world, and she shuts it down and spends some time with her kids. So it's one of those where I think you don't know how easy it is to live without it until you've lived without it. Right.
Exactly. And I think that feeds into the A in Savers, the appreciations and affirmations. What are you looking at in your life? And that is a huge piece that we spend a lot of time on. We have people get up every morning and go on walks as part of their silent. They don't have to, but it's an option. And it incorporates exercise as well as their silence at the same time. So they start to think about, oh, look, the trees are beautiful, and I never noticed that over there. And wow, the crack in the sidewalk right here looks like a smiley face. Weird stuff. People notice weird stuff, but it's everywhere.
Cloud formations, right? I mean, that is one of the powers of the morning ritual and the quiet time. Is your quiet time could be a walk, and for many people it is a walk. And I truly believe, get your butt outside during your morning ritual.
Right.
Those morning rituals when I don't get outside, which unfortunately is a lot when I travel, there's just a difference. I remember doing the morning ritual in Cocoa Beach when Max was at the All-American Games, and getting outside and just walking on the beach, getting outside and just it was just, first of all, it was amazing how nice and cool it was. Otherwise, it was 95 and hot as the sun. But it was just one of those where there's a peace to being with nature. And if there is one thing that I think as a society where Americans have really gotten away from this is that getting in touch with nature and getting in touch. Everybody's spending so much time in a house or behind a computer that they've lost touch a little bit with the miracles, truly, that are out there in nature. So I love that.
Working by referral is not some fairy tale world. It's real. I've seen it. And you can too. Invest in yourself by learning how to run your business by referral at Michael's upcoming live event. It will be a day filled with hands-on, how-to, low to no-cost strategies that you can implement in your business right away. Learn how to run a business by referral that not only feeds your family, but feeds your soul. Go to www.gengenevents.com today. That's www.gengenevents.com.
And so explain the affirmations and the appreciations of savers, the A's of savers.
So affirmations, I mean, as you said, like before you speak, what you want to live into, what you want to become, what you want to be when you grow up, all those things are affirmations. So lately we've been at the tail end of a 2-year renovation, extreme stress, and I have used a lot of affirmations lately. I can do this. I have more than enough time to complete this day. I have more than enough money to complete this job. All sorts of things that keep us just kind of going, keep the train going. And then appreciations, just what have you accomplished and who do you have sitting next to you? You're kind of cute. And the more you appreciate, things appreciate around you. So
So what would you teach someone about affirmations? Like Chris. Let's say Chris is familiar with affirmations, but let's say she's just warming up to the idea of affirmations. What are affirmations, and how should he get started?
You want to tell them about that, Tony?
Yeah, and it's interesting that for me, that was certainly one of the big challenges, and I struggled with when we first started, was that I was kind of coming from a place where it had all these challenges and things in my life 2.5 years ago that I was dealing with that had got me in a really low place and kind of a mild depression, really. And so for affirmations, I struggled initially with having these I am statements, because it was a lot of times there were things that I wanted in my life, but to affirm them, it was like there were many times where I didn't truly believe what I was saying. Yeah. And so that was a challenge. And so when you taught us the structure of writing it, instead of just an I am whatever, it was taking it to this other affirmation statement of I am committed to doing whatever that is, so that I can get whatever this reward is, and having that by a certain date and or something better. And for me, that was a big shift, because
all right, hold a second. I got to interrupt you, because what you dropped was an MBA in affirmations. In just a few sentences, right? So first of all, many people consider that affirmations are I am statements, and that is a great way to start, right? Yeah. And that's how I started. I remember January 1st, 2010, I wrote, I am a best-selling author. Well, I my book wasn't even out yet, right? But it was like, I'm going to walk into being a best-selling author. I'm going to walk into it, right? That I am a best-selling author. And so what's interesting is people were introducing me as a best-selling author before the book had even come out, right? So that's very interesting. But at its most basic level, if Chris wanted to get started with affirmations, you could write 5 I am whatever you want to be, right? And write it in the present. And the first 10 times your brain is going to go, BS, BS, BS. No, you're not. And it's like, just accept it. Be okay with it. Just keep writing it. Eventually your brain gets in line. Your brain will fire it up and will believe it, right? But we have a way to.
I am a $1 million producer, right? I am a $1 million producer.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, to add to that, what I was doing as well is writing those down, but then actually saying, like, reading them out. And it was something, I think, with this, hearing my own voice, saying it out loud instead of just reading it or writing it down every day, that made a big difference too.
That's right. Huge. And so we love the I am statement. So we found something this is based on neuroscience, right? Is how do we get rid of the BS faster, right? How do we get rid of our brain saying BS? Is the I am committed to, right? The I am committed to whatever I am committed to writing 1,000 words a day. I am committing to, which leads to I am a best-selling author, right? Mm-hmm. I am committed to getting one endorsement this week for the book, right? Which leads to being I am a best-selling author. So I am committed to softens the blow to the brain, and it starts the brain kind of absorbing and embracing your future faster, right? Right. And I have to tell you, you went right to MBA, right to PhD, and this is the one that so many people don't do with their affirmations. And I have to tell you, this has been a game changer for me, is the or something better, right? I am a best-selling author or something better, right? I am committed to writing 1,000 words a day or something better. And all of a sudden, instead of you typing 1,000 words that next morning, you type 10,000, right? Or instead of being a best-selling author, you become #1 for 8 straight years on Amazon, right? So it's like, be open to something better. A lot of times we have our reins on the Mustang of our dreams, right? And it's like, dang, throw the reins away and just ride, baby. This is a great life, you know?
Yeah. If you don't have the I am committed to losing 5 pounds, then you might just lose 10. And we see it all the time with our students, all the time.
That's right.
We're like, hey, I don't have an end point, so I'm just going to work out on Saturday too. And then all of a sudden they've lost 30.
That's right. Momentum. And the I and the I am committed to forces action too. Yeah. Right. It forces you to really narrow down what is the actual specific, it takes the dream to actionable steps, right? So lots of positives on the affirmations. Chris, any kind of summary on the affirmations, or something you learned, or an aha from what we covered just about either silence or the affirmations? Because then we're going to talk about appreciations.
I just love I think having the and something better is so important. And I think the feeling of it, I've done affirmations in the past where like you say it and the BS meter goes off, but if you can get to that space where you start to own it and feel it, like the feeling of that is incredible and actually launches you into the rest of your day. Like I love that. It's so important, because so many people say affirmations don't feel good, or they don't feel right. They don't feel true. Yeah. But that's just part of the process.
Yeah. Well, that's the power of the committed to, right? Is that, the BS meter is always going to be there, but it doesn't sound as loud of an alarm. And when I am committed to, it goes from this pipe dream. Sometimes we just think I'm a best-selling. When 2010, I was not a best-selling author, right? I was just a guy who was selling real estate, and so it was one of those where it's like, what's amazing is how much I started to believe during that year, right? And that was a big part of that was the affirmations and pulling me up towards it. So let's talk about appreciations, right? Which we truly believe is a powerful part of the morning process. We also believe it's a powerful part of the nightly process, which we'll talk about later. But how about appreciations?
I just want to take one quick little step back, if it's okay. Yeah. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Besides the alarm actually happening in the morning, one of the biggest changes we made for any of this to stick and to definitely get to where we are today with teaching and coaching and in our business is everything is what does the word commitment mean? And I spend a good bit of time, I didn't at first, but I spend a good bit of time now on the calls with people talking about this. And I learned this several years ago. I didn't know what the word commitment meant. It was very loosey-goosey. When it was convenient for me, I was committed. Other than that, I wasn't, which means I wasn't committed. That's not what commitment is. So I tell people that a commitment means that your thoughts and feelings have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you follow through with something. So I initially, after I realized how important this was to the students, started pushing this up closer and closer to the beginning of the course, because that is the part that people struggle with, not getting up early, not doing 10 jumping jacks. It's what are you doing this for and why? And can you stick to that promise to yourself? And I've often found that people don't think their commitments to themselves matter because no one else knows about it, or they're not looking. So that's why every day, every single day of the class, I have people say, no matter what. And it's after I say again, who's committed, and here's what commitment means again. So anyway,
I love that.
Little
Love
sidebar,
that.
but it's important. It's important.
Hugely important. And what you're talking about is living in integrity,
Absolutely.
right? What is integrity, right? People, a lot of times, it's keeping promises to people, right?
Even when you don't want to.
Integrity is keeping promises to people, including yourself.
Yeah.
When you keep promises to yourself, then you are in integrity, and there is a power to being in integrity. You believe in yourself more. You have more confidence. You walk differently, you talk differently, and you attract different people. You know who you attract? You attract people who are also in integrity. And guess what? Your life improves. And these people who are in integrity, they live up to their commitments. They are funner to be around. They're more successful. And therefore, your life rises as you live with people who are in integrity as well. So love that. Love that we covered that. So,
and that's how you get to have dinner with Michael Maher, guys.
That's one way, right? So how about appreciations?
Appreciations. Tony has we both have an adorable story about his now 10-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. She used to not eat anything because the ex-wife is very finicky. So I will let him tell this story. It's very cute.
Yeah, we started getting her into morning rituals, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 months after we had started doing them. And she happened to be in town with us and listened in on a few of the calls. And we started, showing her the same structure with writing appreciations and affirmation statements. And it was funny because she wrote appreciations to both of us. I appreciate Daddy for teaching me how to ride a bike and stuff like that. And said she appreciated Mama Jenny for, teaching me to be brave and eat new foods and not be a food pooper when I go to a party and stuff like that.
She wrote food pooper. So I won't be a food pooper.
She said food pooper.
Yeah,
I love it. Food pooper. Don't be a poo-poo of a food, right? Don't be a food poo-pooer.
Yep, and now she tries anything and is very brave and is very proud of herself for that. So she stepped out of her comfort zone. She went to the other side, and it wasn't as scary as she thought. And it's a really proud story we have about her.
Yeah, I love it. So what you appreciate appreciates, right? So the more you appreciate something, the more you get that in your life. And it's important to express appreciation, right? I appreciate Daddy, even though she appreciates you. Her writing it is good for her. Her writing it is good for you, right?
Yeah.
So very powerful. Appreciations are very, very powerful, especially when we think of what we have in life and what we want more of, right? Yeah. So it's like if you want more great relationships in your life, appreciate the great relationships you have. And when you are in appreciation, it is amazing how many more opportunities will come to you because the universe, God, will know that you're going to appreciate those opportunities, right? Yeah. So it's this constant evolution of generosity, appreciation, love, and so on and so forth. So let's jump to visualization. And Tony, I know that this is a home run spot for you, right? You love the vision boards, you love the visualization. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the V.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, it was really a big game changer for me, and in like all these aspects of my life, from my business to places I wanted to travel that were important to me, and
to me,
and to her, and I think probably one of the most immediate things that came in with visualization was we put different photographs of places around the world, and I think it was maybe a month or so after I had done that, and I would visualize, and I would use kind of similar commitment statements of like, I want to go to some of these places around the world or something better. And I literally get this invitation like a couple of years ago after we had been doing this, and I had on my vision board that I wanted to go to Machu Picchu one day.
There it is.
And instead of going to Machu Picchu, I get an invitation to go to Patagonia and ride motorcycles through Patagonia for free I just had to pay for a plane ticket to get there. And so it was just, things like that would start to appear.
Because his friend wanted someone to break in the new bikes for his travel fleet he bought.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
That's awesome. That,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Can't make it up.
I'll tell you, that's the thing about 30 mornings that's so amazing is that sometimes, I mean, visualization and vision.
Yeah.
How many stories have we heard of people utilizing that and it comes to fruition? Or something better happens, right? Denise Mills was affirming and appreciating and visualizing going to Australia, and she was affirming, but she thought it was BS that she was going to be able to go to Australia and New Zealand for free. Well, guess what? She got a speaking engagement where somebody wanted her to speak, of all places in the entire world. The connection wanted her to speak in Australia, and part of it was a group out of New Zealand. And guess what? She's going to Australia and New Zealand not for free, from something better, which is somebody is paying her to go to Australia.
Nice.
So that's just one of many, many stories out there. So let's talk. I mean, exercise is a little bit, the E is a little bit self-explanatory. How have you seen that manifested? How have you seen people incorporate exercise into their morning ritual?
I think the biggest change I have seen is once people learn how to honor commitments to themselves, they have a lot of men have sent us messages. Hey, I finally stopped making excuses, and now I am getting up in the morning and I'm going running. And I used to be a runner. So lots of those back in the heyday, I did this and I always missed it, but I never thought I had time. So now I'm doing it again. So that's really cool to see. People that have just had surgery that feel like, poor me, I'm hurting, I don't want to get out of bed, I've gained weight, I've done this. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to walk across the house 5 times today because that's part of my morning routine. And then all of a sudden they're walking down the street and they're starting to jog.
I gotta reinforce that. That's such an awesome, because that's what, walking is a gateway to running, or a gateway to all the other exercises. E and savers can be something as simply walking, walking in the house. If you're just getting started, walking on a treadmill, or just walking down the street and back. I mean, and that's what you guys do great in 30 mornings is you just like, hey, don't worry about running a marathon, right? Today, walk to the lamppost and back. Right. Today, just put on your tennis shoes, walk to the lamppost and back, and call it good. Right. Yeah, we have 30 days of this. We have 30 mornings of this. Tomorrow, maybe we'll get lamppost number 2, maybe not. But at the very least, today we're going to get the lamppost number 1 and back and call it good, right? Yeah. So it doesn't have to be this vigorous going to Orange Theory and rowing a million times and, being in a competitive atmosphere and yelling and screaming that you own the other person that's working out with you, right?
Yeah.
I own you! I own
you! Well, and I love it. I would even add to that, Michael, is
that's a Tony Robbins moment for those of you that don't know.
I would rather, as we're coaching people through this, I'd rather somebody not go to that extreme. Go from like doing no exercise at all to then going and jumping into these CrossFit classes and all that, because there's so much of a risk of somebody getting injured, and now they're taking 2 steps back and all that, and so. I think that's a big part of it is that we do, gradually introduce people to exercise. And, on some of the 30 mornings calls, we literally have everybody on the webinar stand up and do 30 jumping jacks. And
there you go.
Really that simple. And it's not about necessarily, getting into the shape of your life that you were in your 20s or, getting into a bikini contest or whatever. But it's more so of getting the heart rate going, getting the blood flow circulating through your brain, and just waking up everything.
Yeah, and feeling good.
The 7-minute app, right? In 30 mornings, it's 7-minute workout, right? So, which includes push-ups and squats and wall sets and a little bit of crunches. even if they just did that for 30 days.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, we've talked to people that if they haven't been doing any sort of exercise at all and they do that 7-minute workout app, literally the next day they're on the webinar where it's like, who on the webinar is sore from doing the 7-minute workout app? It's a surprise. Like it kicks your butt if you haven't been doing anything. And those that are active, we say, hey, do it 3 times in a row, do 21 minutes of it, or, whatever you want to do.
We had a student that he started out just doing it once and he was winded, and he was probably late 40s, early 50s, I think. And by the end, he took it twice in a row with us. By the end of the second time with us, and we have a lot of repeaters, he had lost 30 pounds.
In 30 days?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think 60 days, like 2.
60, so they did it twice.
About
2 30 morning sessions.
Yeah, he had lost the 30 and then he was maintaining.
I love it.
Yeah, and we get emails from people that, over 30 or 60 days, they're, off of their blood pressure medications or, different, illnesses that they've been dealing with for years. And now they're, in a much better place physically.
Look at the good we're doing with 30 mornings, right? I mean, we're getting people off medication. We're getting people to lose weight. They're losing their own weight. 30. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But emotionally too, I want to just throw in here, we've had people say, because you're thinking all of a sudden what you appreciate and you've been not paying attention to that for 10 years, you know what? I really do love my wife and I don't want to date the girl next to me in the office because she's new and excited. I appreciate.
All right, let's not be too specific with these examples, but so you're right. So we're saving marriages, we're saving lives. Nothing big here, right? So
not at all.
30mornings.com, 30mornings.com, 30morning, and listen, classes are starting every month. Classes are starting soon, so check out 30mornings.com. And we're talking about exercise, and I will tell you that the what I do is walk. I walk in the morning, and I incorporate the R, which is for reading. And so I listen to Audible. I love Audible. People have heard me. I have preached and teached on how much I love Audible, and I listen to books on 1.5 or 1.75 speed, and I can get through a book in a matter of a couple of days. Whereas before it would take, a month to try to read it. And so I'm walking and I'm listening and I'm in my own little world, and it is amazing. We just launched Referrals Magazine not too long ago. That was an idea that I got when I was walking and listening to Audible and listening to podcasts, right?
Nice.
So it's one of those where the reading is a big part of this, and which leads to the final S, with journaling. So talk to us a little bit about the reading and the writing, right? And we're not going to talk about arithmetic, right? But let's talk about the reading and the writing of savers to kind of bring us home with the morning ritual.
Journaling has been awesome for me, to be able to track what our goals were when we started, and to see that we've hit those goals and the struggles that we may be prone to. Like I forget to drink water, there's a small one right there. I always forget to drink water. So now I have apps that help me remember to drink water. And that was one of the things I journaled about was just part of my savers, just something I could help with the energy level throughout the day. So you can journal about anything, but I definitely found it very, very helpful for memory retention when you read something, to then jot it down in your journal. What was your favorite quote? What did you get out of that? What did you wish the author had covered? Just anything. Because like you said, when you're walking and you had the podcast idea or pop up, or the magazine rather, you don't know where those ideas are going to come from. So journaling is the perfect place for those ideas to start sparking. And I think silence as well. If you don't slow down to hear what's inside, then you don't get access to all the goodies that are waiting for you to get from your brain. So journaling is part of that. There it is. The Blessings book. Yeah.
Love it. Tony, how about you on the reading and the journaling? What have you seen others incorporated, and what have you incorporated yourself? And And
gosh, I mean, I'd say, just about exactly the same as what Jenn said. I mean, for me, it was, with reading for years and years after, high school and college, I barely read that much, honestly, maybe 1 or 2 books a year if it was something that I really, really was wanting to learn or read about. So I didn't, I wasn't reading a lot, and I always kind of told myself this story of, I sit down and read a book, I don't comprehend it. I read 10 pages, I couldn't tell you what I just read. And so when I started doing like what Jenn mentioned of sitting down after I read something for 20 or 30 minutes and writing out some notes of some of the key takeaways, it helped tremendously with the retention of it. And then, really just, 2.5 years ago when we started this, I had this huge goal that I wanted to read 30 books that year. I'd heard that, top CEOs and world leaders, all these people on average read like 35 books a year. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to attain that. I'm gonna make this goal of 30, which was, 28 books more than I typically would ever read.
Exactly.
And I fell a little bit short of that. I think I read 24 or 25 books that year, which most all of them were either something directly business related or personal development, spiritual development, things like that. And it just, the knowledge that I gained from all those books that I read, and interestingly, talking about what you're attracting, was that I found my conversations with people when I was meeting strangers or meeting people that had been introduced to me, and we'd go have coffee or lunch, and we would, bring up the topic around a certain book, and they're like, oh yeah, I've read that book too. And so now we're relating to something different, and I'm attracting and relating totally different people into my life based around the things that we're reading. So
100%.
That's a huge shift for me.
Yeah, and what you're doing is you're attracting better people to your life because you're involved in self-improvement, right?
Yeah.
That was my meditation story, right? Is that by getting interested in meditation and starting meditation, and I'm a novice, right? I can't levitate or anything like that yet, but it's one of those where, I meditate, and I'm having conversations with these super achievers, right? Billionaires, and by talking about my meditation journey and learning about meditation, they found me more interesting because they're interested in meditation, right? So like, what do the super successful people do? Well, they probably do at least one of the savers, which is quiet time, meditation or prayer, or appreciations, or affirmations, or visioning, or visualization, or exercise, or reading, or journaling. They most likely do one of those, and a lot of them do a combination. So guess what? You're having these higher level conversations because you're learning, and because they're interested in the same thing you're interested in. And that built that relationship, right? And too often, when people meet with a billionaire or meet with a guy who has a joint venture that has $1 billion to invest, is what are most people that talk to them talking about? What are they want something, right? They're wanting the money, or they're wanting something. Whereas in this case, I could actually give him something, right? In this case. So that is one of the powers of this. And I have to go back to Jenn, something you said, is that it's so funny. You said, I have an app that reminds me to drink water. I need to drink enough water. And so what did I do, right? I drank some water. Cheers, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you get done speaking, you drank some water. Chris drank some water. Tony drank some water. And that is a big part of this morning ritual thing, is that, you know what, just do it. You do you. You just do you. And if you have a spouse or a family member that may be the brakes, right? There's a great quote by Gandhi. It says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And I will tell you the win when it comes to self-improvement and the morning ritual is that, first, if your spouse is not on board, they will ignore you. And then they will laugh at you. What are you doing with that journal? What are you writing? You can't write. That's crazy. And then they'll fight you. They will do anything they can to bring you down. They will interrupt your sleeping patterns. They will interrupt your morning. They will interrupt your toothbrush time. They will turn your alarm off. They will do anything to keep you normal, to keep you back with the bubble that they are comfortable with. But keep going. Keep going, because then you win. And the way you win is exactly what Jenn just did there. Is she's going to have an app that reminds her to drink water. Well, by sharing that and saying, I'm going to drink water. Well, I drink water. Tony drink water. Chris drink water. And so just keep going, because here's what happens. Your spouse gets on board. Your family member, they get on board. They get on board. And that is the real win, is when you've got a couple that are both doing the morning ritual, and they're in sync, and they're in control, and the mayhem of the ahem is gone, and they have control, and it's a great life. So it's fly is the first. Love yourself. Don't worry about it. You're like, yeah, but I've got a really needy husband. Okay, good for him, right? Do what you do, right? Do what you do. Yeah, but I've got to care for my dad. He's in that. Do what you do. Do what you do, right? No excuses, right? Are you using that as an excuse? Are you using it just as much as a crutch as they're using you as a crutch? And the thing is you got to just be you. First, love yourself. Just go, just do, and go through the walls that are going to rise up in front of you, right?
I just thought of a quote, Michael. Can I share?
Yes, we have about 1 minute left.
It's a tiny quote, so good.
Yeah, that's good. Right. So I was hoping it was not Marianne Williamson's.
No. But I do love that.
A return to love.
And you may have to guide me through it a bit, but it's basically that small people talk about gossip. The average person talks about ideas, and the elevated person talks about dreams.
There you go. Yep.
So that's what you were talking about with your sphere of influence and reading and all. That kept in my back of my mind. I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Yeah.
If you get together with people and you're talking about other people, get out of that crowd. Dump them like a bad habit. I hate to say it. My life is much happier now that my sphere of influence revolves around dreams and ambition.
That's right. And you both have grown amazingly in the last 18 months. And I mean that. And I don't mean this from the aspect of a father figure or from that. It's more of a friend in watching. Tony, you're more interesting than you were 18 months ago. Right? You were very interesting then. You could make a mean spicy guacamole like nobody's business, right? But I have to tell you, you have grown so much in 18 months. And look at your leadership role at your business. You opened a new business, right? You're leading groups on 30 mornings and leading group. And Jenn, what I see in you is a calmness, right? I mean, you're very busy. You have a lot of things going in a lot of different ways. And you're also social and outgoing behavioral style, right? So which can be a little more chaotic and somewhat disorganized kind of life. And it's just like, and I know you're not perfect. Neither one of you I'm not perfect. Chris is close. His last name's Angel. He's got to be close to perfect. but it is one of those where it's like, it's like you have this compass, you have this true north that you can fall back on to try, to kind of get organized and get structure and get calm and peace. And I know it's been really hectic in your guys' lives, with the 2-year remodel on your own home, which is a vision, right? From a visualization board and a vision board, and the office, which is also a visualization from a vision board. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and helping change so many people's lives through 30 mornings. And you're both a blessing in my life. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We feel the same way. We love you, big guy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, if you guys listening to this want to grab a copy of the Savers Steps, you guys can go to referralspodcast.com and actually download
the steps. It's not just the steps. It's the whole infographic. It's a great looking thing. It's something they could frame and put up in their office. So it's the steps on steroids. It's a really cool.
The steps on steroids.
Yeah, I'm working on my alliteration this week. So
that's good, and you're crushing it.
It's the mayhem in the AHAM. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
We're eliminating mayhem in the AHAM.
Limited to 3 times. You've said it 3 times. No more.
Masters of mornings. So.
Well, another great episode. Michael, thanks. Tony, Jen, thank you for being on today. Great episode on Savers. And
I got one more. Oh my God. It's like we're going from chaos to chaosum in the mornings, baby. It's chaosum.
You might have missed your calling.
Dick Vitale would say something like that. No more chaos in the morning, baby. It's chaosum. Bring it awesome.
You're
too much
you're
coffee.
Killing it. So we're gonna cut while you're ahead, Michael. On you're crushing it. Your streak. You're on a streak here. So
and that's why you're so good at what you do, Chris Angel.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.